This is my brief. I hope to keep this briefer, more brief, shorter um, comments on marking paper one. Um, so it looks like Mark, you have the most comments on yours. Although it looks like Dale's initial post is now getting some traction again today. So, but I think I'll take a look at well, I'll take a look at both. We've got the time. So this is Mark, Natasha, and Lee and John. Um, yeah, I think that it's on the one hand I think it's good to see that there was some general consensus amongst the um, um, all of you as well as with the examiner. I'm curious. I'd be interested in your commentary at some point. What do you think of the examiner's comments? How useful are they? Do they help you um, in the way you formulate this? Because you're only getting the chief examiner's commentary. You're actually not getting the individual. You're not getting the individual scoring and things like that. So I wonder if there's ways we can maybe broaden the perspective of the the examiner, the person who's assessing the work, and getting you some varieties of ways to see how that is. But I'm curious what you think about the chief examiner's comments. And if you find it helpful, and the assumption is that you do, then by all means let me know. Let your colleagues know. You're also, Mark, probably the right to say um, that the trick is, or the challenge comes in with question four, and I think it's the way in which the mark band is you're right is structured. Um, I'm not sure I have a complete set of. I mean, I don't know. This is one that's I think because the nature of the assessment itself, the fact that you've got this tiered um, this tiered assessment that's covering all four of the assessment objectives, that four isn't broken out a little differently. Um, because you're right, there is more flexibility, potentially more flexibility with that one, and I can see it where without some practice there can be a wide range of responses or a wide range of assessment per particular that one. Um, I haven't seen my item analysis for this past year. I know that my students in years past have tended to do very, very well on paper one, including question four. But we're just finishing the pilot, so I'm the fall when the report comes out, not just my item analysis, but coming from the chief examiner as well as from the assessment folks in Wales. I think then we'll be able to get a clearer picture of what this is actually going to look like. You'll be able to see that report in the OCC, and that should be out in the early fall. So that'll be helpful, I hope, to try to address some concerns. Just as a frank reminder to everybody, there's enough reporting in the OCC to keep you busy forever. So by all means, read those documents, particularly the examination reports, anything that comes from assessment, anything that comes from the chief examiner. That really is required reading in addition to the global politics syllabus, so that you can get a sense of what we've done in the pilot, what we're doing well, what we still have to work on, what are the trends globally. Not that those should become targets for your teaching practice, but they should inform your practice and think about the ways in which you can construct your course, particularly because you're coming at this with fresh eyes and not having taught it before. I mean, as you get your item analysis every year, there's obviously ways to incorporate that into your specific practice. Um, yeah, Lee, I think that we're just the way you approach things is just really, really, and I'm not ignoring Natasha or Jonathan, but the way in which you put forth the responses and your comments, I think are really, really helpful for those people who are just getting into this. I would advise, I mean, if this makes sense for you, not just in terms of this exercise in the workshop, but this is a great um, peer assessment technique. When I teach paper ones, they don't start counting for grades for quite some time. So we do a lot of practice work on, and a lot of it's informal. It's, I'll ask questions that are just like the ones in question one and in part A and B, just to get students into that mode of thinking. There's a nice analog with the way visible thinking routines work, and that they can scaffold different types of questions and task students with providing evidence, things along those lines. But once you get into peer marking um, of assessments, having one peer mark a colleague and provide commentary, and then the student go back and mark, or the student mark, the assessment first. I've done it both ways. For example, we'll work on a question, um, peer mark it. The student will self-assess based on the rubric. We'll keep that blind, and then they'll write their comments and then give it to a peer, say the next day, mark it, and then that gives the students a couple layers of comments and different perspectives. But this format, I think, Lee, that you put together is really, really, really quite good. I'd advise folks not just read it and take a look at it, but think about ways adopting that into your teaching practice. So overall, I don't think that anything else. Let me just check on Dale's commentary, because I'm seeing stuff within the last hour or so. Just make sure I'm not missing anything too much. No, we've got. No, I'm not taking that call. No, it's Dale replying to his own for 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 paper two. Yeah, yeah, I would say that. Okay, that's why. No, it's sorry, it's paper one. I was reading that wrong. Um, yeah, let's see. Comments again, and I'm just reading the new ones live. So score 3, 3, 4, and 2. So 2 and 4. The end 5. Right. I think that Dale, addressing you specifically. Yeah, I think 13 out of 25 for the sample that you looked at is probably within the ballpark. Interesting that you note that you've been burned by too many history examiners to expect paper one. Yeah, I've heard that as well from, and I haven't taught a 2-year cycle of history in quite some time. I've taken sections, 1-year sections here and there. In previous years. But you're right. I think that the paper one, and this goes back to no, Mark's point much earlier. Dale, you and Mark both had similar questions about the inherent ambiguity that's built into paper one, particularly in question 4. And I think that what that probably reflects the discipline itself, but it also, I think, reflects the move on the assessment folks' part to allow for a broader range of thinking, so long as it's well supported. History did become, I think, kind of narrow, particularly under the old syllabus, and too mechanical. Whereas Glopo isn't at that yet, or at least I haven't seen it at that yet. I could be wrong. Again, I haven't seen the item analysis from this year's scoring, so we'll see. So that's probably enough time talking about this. I'll keep trying to keep these under 10 minutes, and so we'll go on to the next mod in a second. Okay, thanks.